Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well tonight. My name is Todd Scholl. I serve as the lead learner for the SCEA Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. And tonight, we have a very special presentation. We're going to be talking about our contracts. For those of you who are teachers, you know those contracts come out in the spring. Sometimes we read them, sometimes we don't, and we most of the time we sign them without really thinking. And tonight, we're going to actually take a look at what's inside those contracts and have a discussion about, when and how to sign those contracts and what's inside them so that you understand exactly what it is you're signing. So we are bringing on some advocates. We're going to bring on Kat Lowe from Berkeley County, MaryRita Watson from Somerville, and William Tinkler from Tinkler Law. Welcome to all of you and thank you so much for being here tonight for this important conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if you guys want to go around and just do a little brief bio for yourselves. We'll start with Kat.
Hey, I'm Kat Lowe. I'm the president of Berkeley County Education Association. And I've been teaching now for almost 20 years. I've been teaching at Hanahan High School. I teach science there. And my advocacy really just started with these contracts that we have been signing for so long. So I'm really excited tonight to take a look at them and really get everybody on board with what we can do to make contracts better for us.
Thank you. MaryRita.
Hello. As Todd said, I am MaryRita Watson. I am the president of the Somerville Education Association and the legislative chair for the SCEA. I've been teaching a little bit longer than Kat. This is my 37th year, and this is my final year. So my swan song here this year, and I'm enjoying all of it. I teach currently in Somerville, reading interventionist at Oak Brook Elementary School, but I've taught in Berkeley County, and I've also taught in Maryland, where contracts were quite a different thing. So I know what it's supposed to look like and what ours looks like.
And William.
Hey, I'm William Tinkler. I'm an attorney in Charleston. And I have a pretty general practice where I do everything from business litigation, personal injury litigation, and advising businesses and really anybody on contract issues. So I have been brought in. I guess it's been about a year and a half now. I've been helping with the South Carolina Education Association. Helping with their legal services benefit, and advising teachers who are going through disciplinary issues or whatever. So that's why I've been invited today. I appreciate y'all letting me join y'all. I see these issues and all over the state, and I've seen some of these contracts. So hopefully I can provide y'all a little bit of information about what y'all need to be doing when you're looking at these contracts.
Thank you, William. And we're excited to have Sherry East with us as well. Sherry, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am a high school science teacher from the Rock Hill School District. I'm currently serving as your the SCEA president, and very happy to have this topic. Thank you, Kat and MaryRita, and everybody else for joining in. We get lots and lots and lots of calls about contract issues and things that you just need to know before you sign. So very excited that these two leaders have taken this on, and Todd for moderating and William for giving us, and Cherolyn, the legal advice around our contracts, because the more you know, the better off you are. So very excited to hear about them and hear about the signing day that they have planned. So
thanks.
Let's get started.
Awesome. Cherolyn?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cherolyn Allen. I'm the members advocate with the SCEA. I've been working for about 5 years now as the members advocate, and primarily I'm the person who gets most of the calls, talk to individuals on a daily basis. It can be through phone calls. It could be through emails, some in-person communication. But I get a lot of, I get all types of different types of issues, and primarily contracts is one of them. So I'm happy to talk about that tonight.
Thank you, Cherolyn. So, when I was a teacher every spring, especially early in my career, I didn't really look at I just knew it was a contract that said, here's your contract, sign it if you want to teach next year. And I never read through the whole thing. And I just, I figured I want to be there next year. So I just signed it. Any one of you can jump in on this question. So like, what is in the contract and why should teachers take a closer look and really think about when they sign it and what they're actually signing?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think all of us have, kind of done the, oh, this is what I need to teach for next year, so I need to sign this thing. And there's some truth to that statement. But I think that it's important for us as we're trying to move towards better working conditions, classroom sizes, pay, all of these things should actually be something that we talk about as a form of the contract, what we expect out of the job. And right now that contract does not reflect any of the asks or needs that we need to be successful. And so, I think the main issue that we have with contract is that we got to sign it to be able to teach. But all of the issues that we talk about in advocacy should be in that contract as well. And for everybody to be a stakeholder, whether it's school board, state legislature, what have you, they should be able to say what they expect out of us on that contract as well, because it's between two parties. It's not one-sided. Right now, our contract is just one-sided.
Can I?
Go ahead, Sherry.
Sherry, go for it.
I'll lend it to our lawyers here next. Is the main reason I get a call is you don't read it, you sign it, and then you get a better job offer somewhere, or you want to move because it's a better class schedule or more money, and you want to switch, just say from Rock Hill to Clover or Rock Hill to Fort Mill because there's now an opening, and you're like, hey, I want to get this job over at Fort Mill High and I'm going to leave. And they're not letting me out of my contract. What do you mean they're not letting me out of my contract? And what is my consequence? They're going to suspend my contract for a year. It's called a breach of contract. So I think the consequences to signing it too early and then getting a job offer are what we most hear about. And then I'll call Cherolyn or I'll call William. I'm like, hey, we have a teacher who's trying to go across the river and teach it in Fort Mill. And they're like, for what, So I think it's very important for everyone listening who's thinking or shopping around about moving to a different district, that if you think you're going to leave, don't sign your contract until you know for sure you're not going to get that job in the other district, because it is a legally binding document. And so once you sign it, if you and it happened to me in Aiken 25 years ago, I wanted to leave and go to Rock Hill and they didn't let me out of my contract. I had to stay a whole nother year, and I had to wait until that next year just not to sign it and hope I got a job. And I did. So I think, because I told York, I said, well, I'm just going to quit anyway and I'll move. And they're like, it's not allowed. They'll breach your contract. We can't hire you if they won't let you out of your contract. Mm-hmm. So we are working with some legislation where it won't be a year, it'll be 6 months. The legislature was a little shocked. Like, what do you mean they take your contract for a year? Well, they do. They suspend your license for a year. So all of those things are the consequence to you. You're not going to get out of it unless you have a really good reason. And that's usually not happening right now in the teacher shortage. So that's where we come into play on how to make this better, how to make sure you understand what you're signing. And then I'll say William and Cherolyn may want to add to the legalities of when you sign it. What are you signing on for? Right.
Well, I think you said a lot there, I think, and what that I was going to say. So I thank you for saving me having to say it. But no, if you look at basic contract law, contracts have meaning. They're not just pieces of paper that don't have meaning. So when you're signing a contract, as Sherry pointed out, once you put your name on that or your signature on that line, you are telling the school district that you will be there for a year, and there's nothing you can do at that point, frankly. So that's why you need to read the contract. And as a lawyer, I would advise you every contract you sign, you should be reading. This is not one of those click on an internet type contracts, just to use some services on the internet. So it's your job. It's a big deal, and you need to read the contract. But there's not a whole lot that the districts have to put in these contracts, and they're not all the same across the state. But there are very basic things that they put in the contract, and most of it is to protect the district, and to protect the district in a situation, say, where there's a recession and they're losing money, and there's an exigency, and they have to basically cut your pay. It gives them the authority to do that, and the right to do that, and you can't do anything about it. There are adhesion contracts, and if you want to work in that district, then you have to sign it. So, and I think my understanding, the goal here is to try to build up the support to go to the school boards, to try to get the terms that benefit the educators, to because so it protects you in certain situations. And I know pay, for example, is not included in the contracts, which is, it's hard for the districts to do that, because when they offer these contracts, they don't know how much they have to pay. But there are things that certainly y'all can demand, and there are rights that you have, just by having a contract under state law. This is in federal law, constitutional law. That contract is a property interest that is protected by the due process of law. And so it can come to your aid in the situation where there's an adverse employment decision that's made, and you need and you call Cherolyn, and you need to get some advice about what to do. And don't just immediately resign if they ask you to resign. There are legal procedures in place to try to make sure that all the evidence is reviewed, and you're before a neutral decision maker. So, I mean, these are the types of things that y'all need to be fighting for, these types of procedural protections that go beyond the statute, because there aren't just the continuing contracts, right, where you see these protections, the highest protections. You've got other contractual relationships that these districts offer, whether it's from at-will, induction, and the annual contracts. They can put terms in that can protect you. So that's a whole lot to unpack. But Cherolyn, I don't know if I missed anything, but Cherolyn's the one. She's the first line of defense when it comes to questions about contracts and adverse decisions that impact your contracts once you've signed it and you're teaching.
Yes.
I would say, I think part of the process that we really want to have here is, the one thing that we do have is that we do not have to sign our contracts until May 10th. They can get sent out to us tomorrow, anytime between tomorrow and May 9th. And we have until the 10th to sign it. There is no incentive to signing early. Some districts may put in, at least not in our district. And so, because there's no incentive and there's no penalty, there might be pressure. You might be getting emails asking you to sign it. This would be a good time for you to stop, print up that contract and hand it to somebody else and read it. My experience has been with state legislators, school board members, just community members in general. When I hand them that contract, they are shocked to see what we agree to. And then, the next question is like, well, what do we need to do to change it? And so like I said, I think the first thing is like, teachers need to read their own contract and recognize that, this is not a document that is going to protect you in an assortment of ways. This year we saw 10 or 11 teachers in Richland County get transferred from one school to another school, and their contract did not protect them from that transfer. So in the middle of their school year, they get pulled from their school and put in another one because you have signed a contract that has given the district the right to do that without any support at all. Sherry had to go in and call to try and help those teachers out, because that's not something that you can just simply do because, the district has decided that it needs to be done. We are in a shortage, and if we are being, the work at will capitalist mindset here, this is not a way to do business and retain your staff. So there's a lot of things that we should be able to ask for. And I think that we want to get the community involved and aware of what's happening. And the first person that needs to do that is the teacher that signs the contract. They need to pull it up. They need to print it. They need to share it with the people that care about them and recognize that, like, it's going to take all of us to make this change happen for us.
Kat, did you want to look at an example of the contract so people can see exactly what we're talking about?
Yes. And every state legislator is like, I've seen this one because it's mine. I print my contract up and I share it with as many people as possible. Berkeley County's looks a lot like other districts, and there are some small changes, but things that are pretty common is that, it'll say that I'm agreeing to 190 days. So if you look at number 2, it says employee agrees to render acceptable service for 190 days. That's really the only time frame that's given. We're usually not given what time we need to be there in the morning or when our day ends. It also is going to state things like in Berkeley County, they will tell us our school assignment. But if you kind of scroll down at number 5, another common statement is the superintendent has the authority and discretion to make the assignment, which is what school you're going to be at. And the superintendent may reassign employee at his or her discretion in the best interests of the district. So just like I was saying before, there's no protections for those teachers that were in Richland because we have signed our ability to do anything about that. And also inside of ours, I want to say it's in number 3, talks about how they can just change how much we get paid for whatever reason, essentially. We just turn over every single, like from retirement to our benefit premiums. That number 3 meant a lot to me and was what got me advocating, because Berkeley County gave a 2% raise, and I was very excited about that raise. And they also mentioned that they would be changing our benefits company. And in that switch, I lost money getting the same policies that I had before. So I started taking home $1 less. So I got a 2% raise and $1 less. And there was nothing I can do about it because the contract says that I've accepted that the district can do as it chooses. Also in number 1, and I know Steve Newsom talks about it a lot, is the idea that, any assignments can be given to you at any time. And you have to take them. And the vagueness of what it means to be doing your job, once again, it's not in the contract, but you agree to anything and everything. And so what I'd say is this is like, every time I hand this to someone that comes from a different state or has just a different experience with contracts, first of all, they just think this is a summary. They don't think this is the actual contract, but this is the actual contract. It's less than a page, right? And at no point does it give us any idea of what our actual job is. Like, it doesn't tell us what we're going to be doing with any type of clarity. And so there's lots to improve here that has very little to do with taking a political angle on this, because this is a contract, and everyone of every political persuasion deals with contracts. And so I think that this is a good way for us to work together towards getting better working conditions for our teachers, for getting more clarity, less ambiguity about like what our day is going to look like, and just an assortment of other issues that can really be handled simply by reforming the contract.
Yeah, Mev McIntosh is watching, and she made this point of defining or removing other duties as assigned.
Yep.
Because that, to me, is the clause that opens teachers up for all kinds of exploitation without compensation. And that, to me, is like, to me, when I look at these contracts, there's a lot of problems with it, but that one stands out to me too. I saw yours. They can just assign whatever extracurricular activities and not compensate you for that. Like without a definition of what that is, how much time it is, how are you supposed to know what you're signing? And I would ask the legal minds here, what can teachers do in the case where, you know, they signed this contract and they're being asked to do things well above and beyond just the normal school day?
Well, I'll go ahead and answer that one. I actually have a case that is similar to that right now. Just being asked to, you know, that catch-all phrase is what I call it, the other duties as assigned. And you're right, it opens up the opportunity for an administrator to ask a teacher, and it's not just teachers, it's basically pretty much all of the employees, to do additional duties. And you know, what to do in a situation like that, because, you know, if it's in there, there is a possibility that they're going to be asked to do additional things. And so in the case that I'm working on right now, what we've had to do is just to sit down and go through and basically flesh through all of the duties that the teacher's being asked to do. And, you know, and look at the job description for this particular individual. And having done that, then going through and pretty much writing out a description of the job and then presenting it to the administrator to say, basically, this is not a part of the job description. Because even though, you know, the contract has that catch-all phrase, you still have to look at the job description and, you know, basically what is, and I'm trying to remember what the exact job was, but, you know, whether or not, you know, it's going over and above what was written into the job description. And what we found is that it did. And so because it did, we were able to address it and say, wait, this is not, it doesn't, you know, you're asking for things that was not presented to this individual when she started the job. And so having done that, we were able to get the administrator to realize that it was just, you know, it wasn't presented initially when the job was accepted. And I agree with everything that you're saying, that all of you are saying. And, you know, in terms of the contracts, they are, you know, some of the, from district to district, they vary, but very little. You know, it's pretty standard. The description that's within, or the elements that are within the contract. And, you know, when our educators sign these contracts, that you're right, they don't really look at them. And so, you know, after you're in the job and then you're performing the task of the job, and then you're dealing with the day-to-day demands, and the, you know, all of the pile of things that's loaded on to an educator. I'm a lawyer, but I was a teacher at one point, so I've seen both sides of the field. And so it's a lot. It takes a lot to be a teacher. And, you know, it's just, you know, sometimes it felt like a never ending job. And so, but there's the contract, but there's also the Employment and Dismissal Act. So even though all of the elements that you want to be in a contract is not in the contract, you still have the due process right that William spoke about. Right. You know, you still can, I was asked tonight to talk about the different types of cases that I hear. I shouldn't say I have, because I don't have them all, but the different types of cases that I get, and whether or not they involve contracts. I can tell you just about not every, but a lot of the cases that come through help desk. We talk about contract in some form or fashion, because just about everything that we talk about, if there is an issue with discipline, if there's an issue, with just dealing with managing students, based on what type of action or what type of recourse that you have depends on your contract. And so if you have, an annual contract, if you have an induction contract, if you have a continuing contract, those different levels determines the extent of what rights that you have. Mm-hmm. And so we end up talking about contracting in a lot of the calls that I have. And, then of course the continuing contract, which is the one that I think what Kat showed on the screen, that's the one that where you're able to ask for, a hearing before the board. And so, you can't just say, okay, well, we're going to, an administrator just can't say, I'm going to just terminate someone. They have to be able to present it to the board. And right. So when that happens, then you get the chance to go and state what has happened, and, basically have the board listen to your situation.
Cherolyn, I want to make sure we talk to I want MaryRita and Sherry to talk about, like, so we know these contracts are problematic, and we know we have the help desk, and our members of the SCEA can call you about their specific questions that they have, and that's an amazing thing that only the SCEA provide. But I'd like MaryRita and Sherry to talk about the importance of, like, for those who may be watching, teachers who may be struggling, why should they join the SCEA? What is the value in being a part of a union to address these issues collectively, these contract issues collectively?
I always tell anyone who asks me that, for myself, the biggest advantage to joining us is that we are local. Like I represent a membership of teachers that I know, most of them. I know our situations in our school district. And so if they come to me with some kind of an issue, I know what they're talking about. And I have connections within my district to be able to go and talk to people in the district office or principals, administrators, or to help that person to advocate for themselves and send them in the right direction. So that's always been my number one. We are local. We are right here with you. The way our system is set up is that we have someone in your school district that can help you. Sherry could add to that.
So that's perfect, is that we have the locals. Kat has been taking this on in Berkeley County. I had issues in Rock Hill. And another reason to belong to the SCEA, just this week and many weeks, I get a call from a person who really needs a lawyer, who they are, somebody refers them. Hey, somebody said, call Sherry, here's my problem. So I listened to a girl this week from the upstate, and she needs a lawyer. She's not a member. And I have to say to her, I'm sorry, you don't qualify for our legal services because you were not a member at the time when this incident happened to you. You absolutely should join now. You absolutely still need our support, but it's kind of what we call a pre-existing condition. And it's not fair to our members that pay their dues all the time for you to get in trouble and you need a lawyer like William or Cherolyn, and you get to call us on the fly and say, hey, I just got put on administrative leave. Can I get some help here? It happens. I promise you, I get a call a week probably from somebody who needs a lawyer. And, it's expensive to hire a lawyer on your own. One of the benefits to belonging to us is you have a legal team with you. Not only a legal team of William and Cherolyn, but you have a legal team of, we're not lawyers, but Kat, MaryRita, myself, Todd, we've all been there and helped talk teachers through a bad time. So you have support from your colleagues and your peers, and we have an amazing staff of people. I saw some of them chatting in there that are called your UniServe representation. So, I mean, they're also there to help you. So we have a whole staff of people that are there to help you through your issues, and hopefully you never have any. One of the other things I wanted is why I would tell you to belong, but to make sure going forward with something that Al Nichols, I called one time over an issue with contracts, and you are contracted for 190 days. So you want to make sure that when you're asked to do things in the summer without compensation, or you're being told that you have to go to letters training, or you have to go to, it was science training, tech prep training way back then. You must be compensated if they're requiring you to do something out of those 190 days. They cannot ask you to do things on Saturday and Sunday without paying you. They cannot ask you to give up a week in July to go to a conference. And here's another one we get. Cherolyn may remember this. They want you to go get IBAP trained. And that's usually a 2-week thing in the summer. Yeah. And they don't want to pay you to do it. So they're like, wait a minute, they're sending me to AP training so I can teach AP or IB level, but they want me to go to training in Florida for a week. I don't want to go there. I said, are they paying you to go? Well, no, but they're giving me my meals and my hotel. Well, no, ma'am, that's training they're requiring you to do. They need to pay you either your daily rate. They need to give you a stipend. So please be mindful and call Cherolyn and we'll get William on it. You must be compensated if you're being asked to work out of those 190 days. It's illegal not to do that for you.
And I could just hop on to like what Mary and Rita and Sherry are saying. Like in the end, like I see it all the time. People will say things like, well, we need a union, or like, we need to do something about this. And bottom line is like, we have a union. This is the union. And if we want to be able to do things, then we need a union that is strong with membership. So if you want a union, you need to join the union. You just talk about it like it's time to be a part of it. And I know this because Sherry knows and MaryRita knows, like for about 2 years before I joined, I was trying to do this contract stuff by myself. And I just kept plugging at it. And then finally I found like if I work with the people, the advocates that I know, and I work in the SCEA, like we're going to start making traction here. And we really have, like MaryRita, who's, our chair for our legislative agenda, will tell you, like, we have stuff that's happening right now, but it takes all of us deciding that we're going to put skin in the game. And that means that you need to join. It's not just like, I get it. We can complain all day long. We can talk shop in the teacher's lounge, but if we want something to change, we're going to have to do something about that. And that means you got to join the union.
I think that's a great segue into why we even wanted to have this tonight. And the biggest reason is because we are starting our signing day campaign. And what that looks like is through the month of February, we are going to be having these little mini classes on just what those contracts are, what they should look like, what legislation is going on at the time in the State House regarding our contracts. How can we change these contracts? So that month of February is set aside, and maybe a little bit into March, just for information, because as Todd said earlier, we don't read our contracts. I'm guilty of it. I was for a long time. And so this is just to bring that awareness to everyone out there, not just educators, but we're starting there. And then we want them to take that to the next level, to their community, their friends, their church people, and let people know what's going on. And then in March, we plan on having like a bingo type game where you're going to be taking this information that you gained in February, and you're going to be using that outside of your little bubble. And maybe you're going to share your contract with your neighbor and then take a selfie of it. And then you get to mark that box off of the bingo board. And you're trying to get, a coverall so that you can get as much word out there about our contracts as is possible. And I will say, we're waiting to sign until May 10th. So tell everybody it's not going to hurt them. This is not any form of, striking or anything like that. It is just something that we need to do in order to let everyone know that we're aware that our contracts might need a little bit of adjustment. And so on May 10th, I hate to say we're going to celebrate because it really isn't a celebration yet, but it will be. That's when we're going to have different events in different locations for those to let the awareness be known about we've signed these contracts, but we're working to make them better. And so just look forward to events in your locals or even a statewide event that kind of just it's the culminating activity. And one last thing I will share. You can change the contract. We went last week and spoke with our HR department, and they were very willing to come and talk. And they were like, please come and give us some ideas. We had a whole list of ideas. They were like, okay, tiny bites. What are your top 3? And we told them we'd like to know what our salary is. And we did have that discussion. Salary is hard to put on there. And we're like, how about you put no less than, and that would be this year's salary, with an attachment to the pay scale. And they were really willing to do that. We don't get location on ours, like where you're going to be working. So they would say where you're going to be working. They agreed to do that. And then maybe have a little, a clause that says this may have to change due to enrollment. And then the third one was, the work day. They didn't want to say like 6:45 to 2:45, but they agreed to like an 8-hour day, which is because it's different. Every contract, depending on what level you're in, your day is different. So they didn't want to put specific times. Yeah, so it can be done. It's not a done deal yet, but they're going to take that now to the superintendent and his committees, and then it goes to the school board. But it's not an impossibility. And so that's what your SCEA locals do for you. They go and they speak on your behalf. So yeah, it is a good idea to be part of this.
I want to give William one more chance. Is there anything we're missing? Anything you wanted to comment on before we end the call tonight?
I don't think so. I was going to talk about the contracts, talk about 190 days, and as Sherry mentioned, that's 190 days. That doesn't require more for the educators. So if they're requiring more, don't be afraid to ask for more. So, but yeah, that's about it. Obviously, a lot of these issues are very individual, and the contracts are different, and the situations are different. So, by all means, if you have any questions, reach out to the SCEA. Use that resource, and if I get, they'll come to me, I guess, if there are any issues. But obviously, I'm here in Charleston, so.
Can I ask William just one question before he hops off? I'll be really quick. But there is some value in us being able to change even a little bit of the contract to make it a more living document, right? I mean, what we are also looking for is just a procedure by which this actually occurs and becomes like a normal practice. So to MaryRita's point, like when she was saying, like we met with HR, like that's a big deal. And we should be all the districts, even though we do have individual needs, like there's some value in just having that exercise.
Yeah. You're asking me if there's value in that exercise?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, at the end of the day, this is an employer-employee relationship. I mean, there are laws that these contracts are different than other contracts because of just the regulated nature of teaching in South Carolina and the statutes that govern a lot of this stuff. But yeah, there are always opportunities to go to the employer and discuss terms, even though this is not a union state, and bargaining is not something that's done on a statewide scale. But yeah, there's of course value in trying to negotiate. That's what I do on a daily.
That's right. I think
in litigation, trying to negotiate.
I think for teachers, they feel like this is a moral, like I'm not allowed to, or this is bad. And I think that if we can just create it as more of like, this is actually a pretty normal procedure in other venues and not seen as bad or good, just the thing that naturally occurs.
Can I throw something in there? I think one the beauty of if you live in Somerville or Berkeley or you have a local president. There's a lot of parts of our state, you guys, that we are looking for local leaders. So if you don't know who your local president is, it might be because you don't have one, because you might be the next rising star in that local to take on this work. So if you are interested in leadership and you're hearing this and you're impressed, as you should be, with MaryRita and Kat and what they've done locally, we have a spot for you across this whole state. We have really been working for the past 5 years to try to identify, and thank you, Todd Scholl has identified some great leaders. We really need to make sure that every member in our state has an active local. And so if you are listening to this and you're like, hey, I want to be the next MaryRita and Kat Lowe, we can make that happen. So please contact one of us or your UniServe staff and let us know that, hey, you're ready to step up.
Thank you. Any other final comments before we wrap things up?
Oh my gosh. Thanks for this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being an advocate for fighting for us. And this is a really important issue, and it's one all educators need to start paying attention to and not just taking for granted what's in their contracts. And we all need to take a closer look and fight together for better contracts so that we can't be exploited. Thanks to all of you.
I don't have any pom-poms tonight. I'm not at home.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. That was Kat Lowe, MaryRita Watson, Sherry East, Cherolyn Allen, and William Tinkler joining us for a conversation about contracts. Thanks to everybody who's been tuning in and commenting tonight. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a sickness here. And thanks to Mev McIntosh, Cindy Fisk, who always watching and sharing and advocating. We appreciate you. Keneal Cornell, of course, working with our aspiring educators. Thanks so much to Kristen for watching, Molly for watching. I don't know if I'm going to say your name right, Horatia Dozier. Thank you for watching, and really everybody who tuned in. This is a really important conversation, and the message I want to leave you with is this: we're not going to win everything overnight, but we're not going to win anything if we don't come together. It's really hard to do this in silos. It's really hard to do this as an individual. Molly Rozier mentioned how she feels bullied, and sometimes when you stick your neck out there and you start advocating and standing up for yourself, and if you're the only one doing it, then it's like you're the one that gets hammered, right? And you're the one who gets can be targeted. But if it's a group of you, if it's the entire school can organize, or most of the teachers can organize at the building level and then organize at the district level, it becomes much more difficult to be bullied when you're standing together as a team. That requires organizing, and it requires coming together in one group. And that is why the SCEA is that group, because not only are you organizing at the state level with the SCEA, but you have a national organization you're joining in the NEA that is organizing at the national level, where a lot of federal law is created that impacts your classroom. But then you just saw what we do. The strength of what we do is at that local level as well, with Kat and MaryRita organizing at the local level, getting groups of people, groups of teachers together to come and make common sense demands or asks of their district administration or the school administration. And sometimes it just takes asking. Having the courage to come together and ask for things. And you may not get everything that you want, but you may get some of it. And at least you start the conversation. And then once you can get some of those wins, then you can kind of encourage other people to say, listen, we can win this. We can actually make a difference and make our lives better, make these contracts better so that we won't be exploited, so that we can get paid better, and so that our working conditions can improve. That requires unity. It requires collective action. And there's only one union in the state of South Carolina. That's the SCEA. You can't just pay somebody else to do all the advocacy work for you, buy cheap insurance, and hope that they do that in Columbia. That's not how it's going to work. It's got to be from the local to the state to the national. It's got to be advocacy at all three levels. And we're the only association that provides that for you. So I hope that for those of you who are watching who are not currently members, look at the bottom of your screen. It says join the SCEA.org, or you can text the word join to 48744 and join Kat, join Sherry, join MaryRita, have access to Cherolyn Allen at our help desk, where you can ask the specific questions about your contract or about legal questions that you have. Really, really important. And then you get all the benefits of being a member of the NEA with over 3 million members, and you get all the benefits of being in the SCEA and then the benefits of being in your local association. So I hope that you'll consider that. If you're not ready to do that yet, you can learn more about who we are at the SCEA.org. We encourage you to go there, and you can reach out to anybody on staff, or you can go to the SCEA.org/YRO, and we'll be happy to connect with you that way. We have a few things coming up. I want to promo. First of all, if you're not familiar with Cool Coaching, this is free one-to-one assistance for induction teachers. That's our new teachers. But if you are a teacher in your fifth or sixth year and you reach out to them, they're not going to turn you away. Angie Brush, Stephanie Johnson, Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder created this program, Cool Coaching. It's just free coaching. It's all done online. It's on Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 6 to 8 o'clock. All you have to do is go to the Cool website, cool.us/coaching. We do have one spot left in our Educator Mindfulness Retreat. If you're interested in that, go to cool.us/retreat. That's going to be June 12th through the 14th. And we have a trauma-informed education workshop on July 11th from 10 to 3. You can learn more about that on the Cool website at cool.us. That website has a bunch of trauma-informed education resources for you to explore. So all you have to do is go to cool.us. Well, thanks again to Sherry, to Cherolyn, to William, to Kat, to MaryRita for being on the live stream tonight. This is important. Educators, we come together. There's nothing that we can't do together. We have all the power. We just have laid it down, and it's right there in front of us. But what's in front of you is your union. And if you just join together and work together, we can, one issue at a time, improve the lives of educators and students across the state of South Carolina. So I hope that you will join this movement and be a part of it. Last few comments. I want to make sure I get everybody's comments on here. Cindy, educators ask SCEA for a rep visit to your school. Keneal's saying also our South Carolina early noble educators. This is really important as well. You can now, if you are a student who's preparing to become a teacher and you want to be a part of the SCEA, you can do that at jointhescea.org as well. And your membership is free. So if you are preparing to be an educator, it's a no-brainer right now to join the SCEA. And if you know somebody who's in college preparing to become a teacher, make sure they know that, because that's huge. That's huge. So please have them join the Student SCEA, and they can do that through the same join link, jointhescea.org. Well, that's it for now. I hope you all have a wonderful end of your Thursday and a great weekend. Thanks again to everybody for tuning in and watching this particular episode on contracts. If you missed it, you can go back and scroll back and watch the whole thing. Really important information about teacher contracts. And we hope that you will join our movement to improve those contracts for every teacher across South Carolina, not just the ones in your district. Solidarity. Love you. Have a great night.